Welcome back to another episode of the Radio Psychs, your premier podcast for insights into everything mental health. I'm Dr. Aaron Haddock.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Yu. We're psychologists who care about people and bringing science to practice.
And we're so glad to have you join us.
Please note that the information shared in this episode is solely intended for informational and entertainment purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical or mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Today's topic is the psychology of relationship decisions.
In our first episode on this topic, we explored how our personalities shape our relationships. Everything from compatibility to complementarity.
That's right. And today, we're shifting focus to another critical piece of the puzzle: the features of the relationship itself and how people evaluate their relationships.
To guide this discussion, we're going to use a fascinating framework from psychology called interdependence theory, which provides insight into why relationships sometimes don't work out, even so-called happy relationships.
That's a key point. We tend to think that if a relationship isn't working out, it must be because the couple is unhappy.
But interdependence theory shows us that there's more to it.
Right. And to really understand this, we have to distinguish between relationship satisfaction and relationship stability.
So let's start with satisfaction. What determines how satisfied we are in a relationship?
Fair warning, everyone. Behaviorism is not romantic. It's much more accountant than poet.
Yeah, true.
So according to interdependence theory, relationship satisfaction boils down to the balance of rewards and costs in a relationship. Every relationship has a mix of both, and we can actually calculate it. If you subtract the costs from the rewards, we get what's called your overall outcome. More rewards than costs? That's a profit. More costs than rewards? That's a loss.
Dang. Behavioral economics. It's definitely more spreadsheet than sonnet.
Yeah, for sure. But wait, there's more. Now, you'd think that if someone is getting more rewards from a relationship than costs, they'd be satisfied, right? Well, it's not that simple.
I had a feeling there was a catch.
Yep. We also have to consider the concept of comparison levels. This is the standard we use to judge our relationship outcomes. It's basically what we believe we deserve from a relationship.
Oh, it's interesting. And I'm guessing these comparison levels are shaped by our past relationships.
Exactly. People who have had rewarding relationships in the past tend to have higher comparison levels, while those who have experienced more troubled relationships generally have lower ones.
Got it. So let me make sure I'm following. If we subtract a relationship's costs from its rewards, we get the overall outcome. And if this outcome exceeds our comparison level, what we think we deserve in a relationship, we feel satisfied.
That's right.
And the more our overall outcome exceeds our comparison level, the more satisfied we feel. But if our overall outcome falls below our comparison level, even if we're technically profiting in a relationship, we'll feel dissatisfied because we believe we deserve better.
You nailed it. This explains why someone can be in a relationship that seems fine or even objectively good, but still feel unhappy. It's all about their expectations. If their comparison level is higher than what the relationship delivers, dissatisfaction tends to set in.
It's really interesting to think about how two people in the same relationship could feel completely different about it, just because they have different comparison levels, different ideas of what's good enough.
It also helps to explain why more people today report relationship struggles. Our expectations, our comparison levels, are higher these days.
That makes sense. We probably expect more from our relationships now than people did in the past.
Yeah, in many ways we do.
So, satisfaction is one thing, but staying in a relationship is influenced by another concept, the comparison level for alternatives. What's that about?
This is where it gets really interesting. The comparison level for alternatives is the lowest level of overall outcome someone believes they could achieve by leaving their current relationship for a better option. That could mean finding another partner or even being single.
So if someone's relationship outcome exceeds both their comparison level, what they expect, and their comparison level for alternatives, what they think they could get elsewhere, they're in a happy, stable relationship.
Right. They're satisfied. and they don't believe they'd be better off with someone else or alone.
Now, on the other hand, if someone's overall outcome is below their comparison level, but still above their comparison level for alternatives, they're likely unhappy, but also likely to stay in the relationship. Why? Because they believe they'd actually be worse off if they left.
Yeah, it's like the grass in the field they're in isn't really all that green, but the grass on the other side doesn't look any greener.
That makes sense. But what about when people leave happy relationships? From the outside, it might seem confusing.
People tend to leave happy relationships when their overall outcome is above their comparison level. So they're satisfied, but below their comparison level for alternatives.
Ah, so in this scenario, it's like they're standing in a green field, but the grass on the other side looks even greener.
Exactly. Which highlights how the factors driving relationship satisfaction are different from those that determine whether someone stays. A person can be happy in their relationship, but still believe they'd find greater satisfaction elsewhere.
It's fascinating. Like we said earlier, it's not exactly romantic, but it does make a lot of sense. So, I'm guessing the rewards and costs in a relationship don't stay the same over time. What does the research say about patterns in successful versus unsuccessful relationships?
When a relationship is new, it's almost all rewards. Everything feels exciting. There's a thrill of new experiences, fresh connection, and novelty. The costs are usually pretty low, but as time goes on, the perceived costs start to creep in.
Yeah, in the beginning, we're often so focused on the positives, we tend to overlook any downsides, don't we? But as time goes on, the whole picture begins to come into focus, including the costs, which can create a lull or even a plateau in satisfaction.
Exactly. In successful relationships, couples find a way to navigate this plateau. They continue to grow the rewards, whether it's deepening their connection, creating shared goals, or finding ways to support each other. And they adjust to the costs. Over time, satisfaction starts to climb again.
But in unsuccessful relationships, the rewards don't increase after that plateau. Instead, dissatisfaction grows as the initial excitement fades and the costs become harder to ignore.
Right. And this often leads to the relationship ending, even if it takes a while for both partners to realize it. What's fascinating is that research shows many of the problems that ultimately lead to breakups, sometimes even after years, were present from the very beginning.
Wow, so the red flags were likely there before they committed or got married, but they might have been overlooked during the initial excitement.
Yeah, it's an important reminder to pay attention to those early dynamics. They often set the tone for what's to come.
And this brings us to an important takeaway. Satisfaction in relationships, especially marriage, often starts to decline as early as the second year. A big reason? People stop putting in the effort to be considerate, responsive, and rewarding partners.
When we stop doing the things that make our partner feel valued and appreciated, it's no surprise that satisfaction drops for both people. But the good news is, it's preventable.
And that's where we'll pick up in a future episode, where we'll dive into how we can be more rewarding partners and keep our relationships strong over time.
We hope this episode exceeded your expectations and maybe even gave you a new comparison level for podcasts.
Until next time, take care and be well, everybody.
Take care, be well.